All right, folks, today I am joined by Chad Stahelski, a former stuntman turned director who has helmed the incredible John Wick franchise. Thank you so much for your time today. Chad, I want to start off with this new film. John Wick 4 asks how far and how long Wick is willing to go for his revenge. As the director of this film, does this also represent you asking yourself a version of that same thing? How big, how brutal can we possibly go? Are you, in addition to John himself, contending with how and when this all ends?
Um, I don't think that's a funny question. Yeah, I don't think I mean, Keanu and I never really look at it that way. We just go, okay, how can we, and I'm totally serious, like, how can we be better? Like we come from, I don't come from the normal director path of where, you come with this expectation that you have to know everything. I come a little bit more from the, what would you call it? The working class side of Hollywood. But we just go, okay, well, how do I get better as a director? Like, how do I do things a little bit better? How do you learn from all the mistakes we've made? And there were a shit ton on all the other movies. Like, how do you get to be a better storyteller? How do I improve my editing? How do I stretch the colors? How do I learn more about wardrobe? How do you expand this massive cinematic universe without being repetitive or without letting the audience down, without, blowing the expectations? And like, yeah, man, to be honest, you wake up, you fucking terrified. You're like, you're actually shitting your pants every day. But then you just realize, like, what's the core of it? And it's Keanu and I, and it's each of us gets a little bit better. So we try to grow out, and then we expect a little bit more of our crew, our cinematographers, our production designer, our stunt team. And you just calm down a little bit and go, okay, where does it start? It starts with Keanu. So let's get him better. So you focus on his skill set, and okay, you're going to drive, you're going to do that. You good. And Keanu, again, I have an unfair advantage to the rest of the world. I have Keanu Reeves.
Yeah.
The guy is the most committed, insanely intense, cannot keep him down kind of human you'll ever meet. So you start there, and then you build from that.
Well, so I'm going to jump ahead to one that I have about him. Everyone knows what he brings when it comes to his stunt work, but what do you think is the most underrated aspect of Keanu's contribution to these films?
Okay, behind the scenes, it's the creative collaborative. Like I'm very visual, so I go from the outside in, like set pieces, world, colors. We're gonna build it, and we're gonna get this big brand, good, the bad, the ugly story theme about friends that have to frenemies and they have to fight. Like, I'm good with that. And then Keanu's all about what the guy's feeling at that moment and how to put those subtleties in, right? So he's building the characters, not just Wick, but all our characters from the inside out. He's helping us write them and collaborate from an actor standpoint, which is his specialty. And then you have the in front of camera thing, which is almost the same. It's the subtleties. If you look, I try to do like the Leone thing and the power of the close-up, right? So if you watch Bill and Keanu and Hiroyuki, when I punch in for a close-up, there's these subtleties. With Skarsgård, it's always after the scene's kind of over, he does the little eye twitch or he does a little smirk. With Keanu, he's got a very subtle, big screen sense of acting. When he's trying to emote, there'll be that one little chin tilt in that eye, and he's very good at projecting an emotion when he's going. And like, there's natural empathy there and humanity that that's just Keanu, and he kind of brings it into the suit, if you know what I mean. And that,
yeah, well, I bring that up because I was watching the first film with the director's commentary that you and David did, and you guys were talking about how the scene of Keanu reacting to his wife's death, and he was like, hey, could I just turn this up to 11 here? And you guys let him. And that is not something that people, I think, know. And I'd like to get the word out there that Keanu is just as much as, building the character's soul as he is doing the fight scenes.
Oh my God. So much. Like, here's, and okay, I'm going to give you an action movie trope, not directed at any one film or cast member or anything like that, but like, you have the really strong hero, and apparently that hero's always got to be cool, can't ever be vulnerable, can't ever cry. Like, in our first movie, we made this huge list. You probably hear the stories of everything we love about action movies and everything we hate.
Yeah.
From the stunt guys that do action movies. What do we always see is goofy tropes. And we tried to just dispel all those in the first. So we got our lead guy who doesn't talk for 40 minutes. His first action scene, he gets the shit kicked out of him, like literally zero skills, in his pajamas, barefoot. Okay. We kill his puppy, right? His wife dies, and it's not because of the bad guys. And we do a fight scene with a female action hero, Adrian Palicki, at the in number one, in his boxer shorts. So can we do anything else to demean and make this character more vulnerable? I mean, how many action stars do you think would say yes to any of that?
Well, and
Then
even the
have
first
long
one, you
hair
have
and
it.
unkept, like,
You point out, like, we even included a scene of him cleaning up post party just to really add those human ticks.
human moments. So like, okay, what do you do? Like, how many people do you think would have agreed to that?
Yeah, right.
That's Keanu's strength. It's Keanu, the ego goes and he sees things. It's weird whether it's, I've, known him for a while now, and he addresses it that's why we include him so much in the writing phase.
Right.
I don't see I'm not naturally empathetic. Okay. Just for whatever Keanu, and I'm sure you've seen the internet stories and people, like, he just sees things from a very human, he has the ability to see things from other people's perspective and see the big picture quicker than most people. And he has a very human response to other people, which is entirely unique to me. I don't have any other close friends that have that same kind of natural humanistic empathy that he has. And I just think when he develops a character, it's just natural. He doesn't think about that shit. It just makes sense to him.
Yeah.
Like, that's how he addresses it. And I don't think most people get that, like, his subtleties in that respect.
I want to give your empathy a bit of credit, and I'm going to cut this part out because it's towards the end of the film. So this is just you and I. I need to know about the eureka moment where you guys decided to give John a Kevlar lined suit. Action movie heroes have been magically dodging bullets for decades. During my entire
that was
life,
that was one of the things we had on things we hate about action movies.
So who was just like, oh, bulletproof clothes? Like, I just put me in the room that day.
Well, I swear to God, even now, I devote like an hour to two every day just surfing the YouTube, wormholes. It was years ago. I'm like, we'd always, first for fun, we do a lot of, stunt guys will sometimes do competitive shooting, like, at the target ranges.
Yeah,
and
I've seen those.
We discovered 3-gun with Taron Butler, and that's how we got Keanu into it. It's just fun. It's zen. You go into that spot. What we do, archery. We'll do all kinds of kooky stuff to keep different skill sets up. And we were going down, and I forget the actual reason I started, but I ended up going down this thread. And it was something, I was looking into wardrobe and suits, and then I was looking for ways to holster guns and suits, like built-in holster, just kooky stuff on the day. And we came across this company called Dragon Skin, which is, claimed to be the president's tailor and how they put ceramic tiles in suits. And I was like, oh, well, we're in the service. It magically kind of connected. Well, we wanted the suit, suits and, sartorial, choices are big in John Wick because we're a suit movie, right? We like that properness, the way it makes, the formalness that it gives. And then we're like, oh, bulletproof suit. Like, that's a legitimate real thing with politicians and people that have ceramic tiles sewn in, and, Kevlar, like, it'll break your ribs, but it'll stop the bullet.
But you won't die.
Right. So we thought, well, that's cool. We'll just kind of bleed it in that way. And we'll have this cool tailor guy, and that'll give him a reason to go to New York, and he's going to get back in the world. Like, John Wick's back. He's going to go give the gold coin to the map maker, to the sommelier, and we'll make it to the tailor. And the guy that plays the tailor is actually Luka Mosca, our actual wardrobe supervisor in number 2. And we thought that's great. And we kind of took it like, okay, how do we use it? And I was thinking, well, at least that gives the bad guys a chance to shoot him and John to show pain. And we were going it on, and Keanu comes to me one day, and I'm totally giving props to Keanu for this, comes to me and he's like, I'm going to do something like this. I'm like, and I was like, what the fuck are you doing? Right. He's like, well, I don't want my head to get shot. And we both looked, and I was looking at the fight choreographer, and we're both looking like, that's either the greatest thing I've ever seen or it's one of the goofiest. And we're just kind of like, oh, fuck it. Okay, and Keanu took it to a whole new level. So now that's part of the gig.
Dude, it's in the fights. Yeah, the way that you guys have weaved it into the action now.
I'm going to take credit for the bulletproof suit, but I'm going to give Keanu credit for the actual how he did that. That's all Keanu, man. That was all not one of our choreographers, not one of our stunt guys. That was fucking Keanu coming up with it. It's still Keanu and I were just talking about that the other day on the plane. We're like, can you believe that worked? We're like, oh my God, that worked.
It's just a great way to explain such a glaring hole in these type of films. In the commentary for the first film, I was struck by this. You and Dave said that, quote, the biggest conversation was whether or not to kill the dog. Do you believe the franchise would be where it is today if you went the other way with that choice? Why or why not?
Brother, it's terrifying to think back to all the little choices that we had to make
Well, I read that book that just came out, so I am aware of sort of the long road of what it took to get there.
Yeah, no, just like you think about, like, we thought maybe being first time directors, we should just shut up and not be so confrontational. Like we were assholes. Like there's no way we're killing, like Alfie Allen's character's dying and he's going to die violently. And no one wanted, like, they didn't want Keanu to just walk up and execute him. Like, no, he's actually, we're hard boiled. And like, they didn't want Keanu Reeves to have the long hair and the beard. They didn't want him to like fight Adrian Palicki in the boxer shorts. They didn't want to kill the puppy. And we get it. Like, we totally got it. But like, we're also like, if we neuter one thing, the whole tone's going to flip. But, and, you know, we kind of stuck to our guns and all stuff. Like, great, we're proud of that. But like, you know, in the end of it, like, I completely empathize with everybody else that was kind of telling us otherwise, because it hadn't been done. And that was a no. Like, don't make your hero look that evil. And it's not till the end that it all kind of worked. And to be honest with you, first time directors, we didn't fucking know. It wasn't until the movie was done that like that tone magically happened.
Yeah.
And like, we just think back and our hands shake. We're like, oh, well, we almost didn't do that. Because there was times when Dave and everybody else would leave. Like, we were always like, we argued as much as anybody, but we didn't argue in front of others. You know what I mean? We just wait till the door shut. And then we'd be the united front together. But when everybody left the office, we'd shut the door and go, okay, dude, should we kill the puppy? Like, we don't know. Like, is this a good idea? It's like, we're like, oh, fuck, we can't kill the puppy. And then we'd have a couple of drinks. But no, we got to kill the fucking puppy. But it's crazy to think back about those choices.
I mean, the book that I read, it's called "They Shouldn't Have Killed This Dog." The dog has become the heart of the entire almost decade-long stretch. You know, it's a crazy sliding doors.
Madness, right?
So, you know, growing up, I grew up with the Arnolds and the Stallones and the Bruce Willises. For my adult life, I'd say there have been 3 action stars: the Marvel stars, whatever the hell Tom Cruise is doing, and John Wick. Now, you might be too much in the weeds to think about it, but do you ever take a 10,000-foot view and consider where John Wick ranks among the all-time pantheon of legendary action heroes? Or are you not quite there yet and are just going to let the films and characters speak for itself when it's all said and done?
Yeah, that's kind of more a gig, I think. I don't know, man. Like, I love the work. I love the gig. I love working with smart people. I love working with cast members that I respect. I love making love letters to action movies. Like, I don't know, we get done, we try to throw ourselves into the work. I think Keanu's experienced all different ranges of budgets of films, and I've only directed, obviously, the Wicks. But there's those moments, like, you know, you don't, like, the difference between where we started and where we are now is so life-changing. It's a bit odd. Like, on this tour, this is the craziest press tour I've been on. Like, we've always had a little bit of love in your fan base, and you're just very respectful and you're flattered. And we got off the plane in London, and it was like, it kind of hit you. And then we did South by Southwest this year. It's kind of where we started, in Austin, Texas, on the first movie. And the audience was so amazing, and it kind of hits you a little bit, and it does get to you. You're like, whoa.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a, brutally honest, it's like, we still think we're in the low budget. You know, we're making this little action movie that hopefully people will like. And I don't know, I think that's a good place to be right now. So
you are now in the process of spinning the franchise off with the Ballerina film that you are producing. What is Ballerina going to bring to the universe that John Wick has not yet? And what is Ana de Armas bringing that Keanu has not brought yet?
I
gotta try, Chad. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'll leave the details to Len Wiseman for that, the director on Ballerina, and to Anna herself. Look, Keanu's a little bit more involved in that because he's done an appearance in that film, which is great. I think Len's, I worked for Len as a stunt guy on Die Hard 4, I think it was. Like, so I've known Len for a while, since he was doing the Underworld, through a mutual friend. And I think he's a fantastic person to hand the torch to go off in a different direction and see. I think Len's got he's very respectful of us, but he's also got his own thoughts and views, which I think is amazing. Anna, again, I've had very little interaction, but the times we've talked and what he's gone is like, again, I can only go off what I've known and seen of her work. And she's got that little something that you just, you can't put your finger on, but you like, there's something you can't, you just instantly gravitate to her. Like, she kind of owns the scene for a sec. Yep. And if they do even half of what we hope for, I think they're going to have something special. So we'll see.
I've got to start to wind down here, so I just want to ask you two more. I'm sure you have not really thought about this because you've got John Wick on the brain, but you are attached to the Ghosts of Tsushima film.
Yep.
I'm asking you this because The Last of Us just came through and blew
Yeah.
everyone away.
Great,
And
great
I'm not,
series.
yeah, and I'm not suggesting that you weren't planning on bringing your A game, but I do think The Last of Us is going to shine a further spotlight on upcoming video game
I hope so.
adaptations.
I hope so.
Okay, great.
That's why we've got so much. Ghost is something, you know, Rainbow Six I'm working on, Ghost is working on. In both are fantastic projects that I really hope to come to fruition. But just Ghost, because of that link to the video game, and because Ghost has, I don't know if you know the game, but it's got an amazing.
Yeah, I've played.
It's the samurai movie. It's got great thematics. We have a lot of push on that and a lot of interest because of Last of Us pushing that. Yes, the curse of video game to movie is kind of lifted, like it can be done. You just got to give it love and attention.
Yep.
I think Ghost, of all the other video games in development, I think that's the one that's gonna land the.
Great. And then finally, I just want to wrap here. I want to ask you about a film that you're probably not asked about much, certainly not during this press run. V for Vendetta is undoubtedly one of my favorite comic book films of all time.
Same here. Same here.
Amazing. And let's just say it's aged quite well.
I really like it.
Not only did you work on the stunts, but you were like the fire walker guy, right?
I did. So
when I bring that film up, what's the first memory that pops in your head?
At the time David Leitch was doubling V, I just remembered there was a little bit of casting issues going on with some changing of the guard there, and they had Dave do the called the V speech, and you know, with a mask on, you can't. So just Dave learning the whole speech and doing the whole V for Vendetta, you know, that kind of thing. It was pretty crazy, and to be with James McTeague, who had been our friend in the first AD and all the Matrixes, watching his directorial debut, us trying to support him, the Wachowskis being there, obviously, it's like the Matrix reunion for all of us that have done all that. And really see that come out. And then, you know, yeah, doing a naked fire burn kind of stands out in my memory. You know, we had to figure that one out a little bit. That was before some of the special gels they have. So we kind of figure out how to lower body temperature and stand out in Berlin in the freezing cold and not get certain parts burnt was always.
Is that really you screaming?
It's funny. The scream is in there. The scream was dubbed in, you know, in other voice. I do have a scream. I think it was on the third take. We were going through, and not to be too detailed, you have protective gel on you, and the gel on top of that, the actual liquid fuel is put on. And when you walk, you got to be very careful not to rub your arms on the armpits or your legs, because it'll wipe off the protective gel. So you kind of have to walk a little bow-legged, and you have to keep your arms away from your hips. But it's hard to walk and keep your butt cheeks from rubbing. So the wind, we had these little fans that were keeping the flames off me from the front and the heat back. These little, as I walk, the fans are blowing the flames off. The wind changed during me screaming, going, and the wind changed. It went right up between the legs, and I got them. So I went, and I went up about 3 octaves as I got a little singed right on the,
hey, Chad, John Wick 4 is incredible. Your film working is amazing. I think that you and these films are proof that sequels, when done right, can only enrich this medium that we call film. Thank you so much for your time today, man, and I can't wait to see what you have next.
Thank you, brother. We'll talk soon. Yeah.
Yep. Cheers, Chad. Appreciate that.